Hello and welcome to episode number 10 of Just Chillin'. Boo, 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 boo. 10 episodes. We did it. Yeah. Um, I'm one of your hosts, Sean Hoffman.
And I'm one of your hosts, Andy Bell.
And welcome. If you want to find more,
What was
we
the
tried
pregnant
that one for
pause
size.
for?
I don't know. I'll cut it out though, but it was funny.
Leave it in. Leave it in. Leave it in. Leave it in. Warts and all. This is
uh,
what you get, guys.
quick business. If you want to find us, just go to justchillin.com. You can leave us a voicemail or email there, or send us an email at feedback@justchillin.com. We look forward to your feedback or your arguments or whatever. But anyways, I know we got a lot to talk about, so let's just jump straight into it. How was your week? What's new? How's it going, Andy?
How my week has been. It's been quite quiet. It has been quite quiet. It is Easter. We're approaching Easter, and Easter is a relatively nice and wholesome time in the UK for us to spend time with loved ones and family and just cut back a little bit. And I think it's coincides not only with Easter but also with spring break with you guys. So yeah, it's been nice in that it's been relatively quiet. Although there have been a few things going on in the last week to update you on. I bought an electric car, mate. I've jumped in
Nice.
with eyes wide open. And I've bought myself an electric car to do my little bit for the community, or sorry, for the environment. Not so much the community, more the environment. But yeah, it was the right time. It was the right price. I got a really good finance deal. The car I was driving was really on its last legs and started. When it starts costing you money, it becomes kind of not worth maintaining anymore. So I
Yep.
jumped in, and I'm getting used to all of the idiosyncrasies of driving what is an electric car, and I know that there's a lot of people are for this kind of this kind of transportation. There's an awful lot of people that aren't for it, but in the UK it kind of works. We've got a reasonably good infrastructure of charging stations, or uh, in terms of a network across the UK that makes it doable. And we're a very, very small country, so quite frankly, we're not doing the type of huge miles that Shawn and Maddie would be doing over a weekend. I mean, the furthest we'll go is a couple of 100 miles, which on this particular motor that I bought is more than doable. So yeah, I've jumped in and having fun with it. The one thing I will say is I was not expecting them to be so fast. I mean, 0 to 60 in a matter in less than 5 seconds is ridiculous
That's the
for
best
uh,
part.
for a, for a car, because it's quite a conservative looking car. As you guess, it's a Volvo, which is quite an old man's kind of sensible car. But goodness me, it goes like shit off a shovel. It's a lot of fun. So that's the first thing that's happened this week, and I'm very, very happy. Secondly, got confirmation a couple of days back from our friends, or the UK contingent of the scruffy looking podcasters, that we've got tickets booked for certainly for my pilgrimage up north, to go and watch the Phantom Menace 25th anniversary with them early May. So I'm really stoked for that. And what we're going to do at the same time, I hope I'm not giving away too many secrets, but what we're going to do at the same time is, those boys live near Nottingham, and they live quite close to the quarry that was in Andor. So it's somewhere called Middle Peak Quarry, and they're not too far away from it. And this is the quarry that, I don't know if you remember, when Andor and his buddies escaped from prison, and they tried to steal a quad jumper from those two aliens that caught them, and then kindly gave them a lift to where they needed to go. That quarry where it was filmed is quite close to Chris and Kev, and so we're trying to plan the weekend accordingly, or the day accordingly. So it'll be a case of a little bit of exercise, hiking around the quarry, and I'm sure taking some reenactment photographs, and then in the evening going out to see Phantom Menace. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a while since I've been able to A, hook up with them face to face, and B, have a bit of an adventure. So I'm looking forward to it. And then lastly, you remember a few weeks back I took a week off work, and I because the weather was so bad, I bought myself the Lego Omnithopter from Dune, which I built during that rather uh, gloomy week. Well, I bought this week. I've ordered a wall bracket for it, so I'm very excited because there's basically a company in the UK that do an awful lot of stands and display cases for Lego, and they make these very, very nice. You can see a few of them up there. Very nice, kind of very robust stands to enable you to A, look after, but B, display nicely your Lego sets. So I bought myself only today a wall bracket that will allow me to take the Omnithopter and literally mount it on the wall flat, so it looks like almost like a trophy. It's mounted flat with the with the wings behind it on the wall.
Like a
So I'm
cicada
looking
on the
forward to
wall,
that.
like a bug on the
Yeah,
wall.
exactly
Just
that. Yeah, exactly. That's a as usual a lot better explanation than I could do. But yeah, that's kind of been my week in terms of what I've bought and what I've got to look forward to.
Well, one,
What about
who'd you get
yourself?
the
Oh, sorry.
who'd you get the Lego mount from? Like what company was
Oh,
that?
sorry. Yes, yeah. Wicked Brick. Yeah, I'm glad
Oh,
you asked because I was talking to our buddy
that's who did
Turbo.
that.
He also. Oh, right, great. I mean, they're a UK based organization, but they ship pretty much everywhere in the world. Yeah, it's a company that I've used forever. They're not cheap, but there's a reason why they're not cheap. They're made extraordinarily well.
Yeah.
Um, and like I said, they ship everywhere, and they pretty much have a solution for pretty much every single kind of set or franchise that you can think of that Lego builds. So yeah, no, they're good guys, really good guys, and I've used them a lot.
Yeah, I've got a couple things from them that I've it's like they've got the secret sauce like nailed down.
Yeah,
It's not as simple as like going on Etsy and getting like a laser cut acrylic and whatever. It's like no, they've got the dimensions down for the connective like the Lego pegs and then like the balance like cuz I have that bomber on it behind me and it's
yeah,
like it's balanced so it's got cool angle but it's like it just the tolerances are tight and so I'm really happy with them. I'm sure you get them a lot quicker when you order them than I
yeah,
do because it takes
yeah.
forever for me, but it's worth it.
Well,
I've always
yeah.
really
I
like them.
mean, yeah, you can add a couple of weeks on for shipping, but even I'm sure I do get them quicker. But they do take a while because they kind of pretty much manufacture to order as opposed
Made to
to
order, yeah.
in advance. So, but yeah, they're certainly good guys. Do recommend them for all of your display solutions for your Lego sets. This episode is
Oh,
sponsored
okay.
by Wicked Brick. Anyway, sorry, wait. What about yourself?
I
How was your
wish.
week?
I wish. My week was pretty good. It's been pretty low key. You know, work. I've been trying to focus and work on that my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle model a lot. No major
Mm.
updates there. But I do have a couple pieces of feedback that Madison provided, and so one of those is that she's mad at you for your dislike of Poor Things. So she
I
tried to
didn't
get
say
me
that. I really,
she
I
tried to she
keep
wants
going.
me to limit your server access for videos and the only thing that you should have access to is a playlist containing Poor Things. That's her proposal. I'm not necessarily
That's
going to go through with it.
that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. But for the record, I do recommend she re-listens, and I, it's just very art house, and it takes awful lot of thinking. And in my age, I don't like to think as much as I used to.
So just to be clear, you want me to go to her and say, whoa, you need to listen better. That's what Andy
No,
said.
let's start again. Let's start again.
That's
Sorry, yeah, sorry. Just say yes, yes. Andy agrees with you. He'll do whatever you say. That's fine. That's absolutely fine.
all right. There we go.
Absolutely
I
fine.
like that one better. And on a slightly different note, she actually introduced me to. She's big into playing The Sims, and she actually introduced me to a subreddit called Low Sodium Simmers, which is a
Ooh.
Sims based subreddit. But what I like about it is the name. It's Low Sodium Simmers because it's a Sims related sub that is low on the salt, and so you don't come there to complain and do all that stuff. And so I'm like, oh, I am stealing that. It's like
Yeah,
just chilling, a low sodium Star Wars, a low sodium podcast, or like here's our low sodium review. It's like,
I like that.
I love that.
I
Oh,
like that.
I am stealing that. I'm not stealing. I am gonna borrow that until I forget.
I
But
like that a lot.
other other than that, there's not a whole lot else new with me. But I know we got some news. We've got some news and we've watched some stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll let you lead off with that.
So there's a couple of things I really want to talk to you about in news. Obviously, the big one around a particular event that's happening next year that we need to talk about because at the moment I am stoked. But new trailers for me. The trailer, since we last spoke, the Beetlejuice sequel trailer came out. That looked great, actually. It looked really, really good. Pushed all the right buttons, got all the right feels from it. Nostalgia, nostalgia, nostalgia. Loved it. Um, the second trailers, plural, I watched were for the House of the Dragon Series 2. And they did something quite clever, actually. They released two very, very different trailers for the same, essentially announcing the same, promoting the same series. And that one was the black trailer, the one was the green trailer, which were two very, very
Mm,
different trailers from the point of view of the two factions of the two warring households um, that will be fighting for the Iron Throne in the next season. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then lastly, the Penguin. I enjoyed the Batman. I'm not a massive superhero, or sorry, should we say more mainstream superhero follower. I like the more obscure, as we spoke about in our first couple of episodes. I like the more obscure stuff, but I do like the Batman, especially if it's done right. And I did enjoy uh, uh, the Batman, although I thought that Mr. Patterson was not the best Bruce Wayne I'd ever seen. I thought he did a really good job as the Batman. Um, and I thought that Colin Farrell did an amazing job of playing the Penguin in that film. And he's now getting his own spin off series, again, directed, I believe, by Matt Reeves. And we saw didn't give too much information away, but we saw an early look on what that's going to look like coming up this year. And it looked really, really sick. Couple of things, more trailers or more information coming out for Fallout, and I think I did mention Fallout a couple of weeks ago as being a franchise or a gaming franchise that I certainly enjoyed. Should we say Fallout 4, maybe not 76 and Las Vegas, but I certainly enjoyed Fallout 4 and the TV adaptation of that is coming out very, very soon, actually, on April
mm,
11th on Amazon Prime, and I'm getting more and more information on that, and looking at more and more teasers and featurettes and pictures of how that looks. And that looks really, really sick, and I think it's I'm really looking forward to it. And in terms of the subject matter, um, it's great because again, it's kind of 1950s. It's like a reenactment, or sorry, a readjustment of history, and that people lived underground in the 1950s. So very much the tech development has been based on this old Bakelite type of technology that they had around then, and introducing that into the real world when these folk finally make their way out of their underground bunkers. Little bit like Silo. So I think Apple somewhat stole the stole the initiative first, but I don't think there'll be any clashing or any associate or any insinuations of of copying going on because the subject matter between Fallout and certainly and Silo seem to be very, very different. So again, looking into that, and then lastly, I'm going to defer my last news item until you and I can put a little bit of time into it together. So passing it over to you, mate. What have you picked up in the news this week?
Not a lot of news. I saw a couple trailers as well. I saw the Penguin. I like you. I'm really excited for this. I really enjoyed the Batman.
Mm,
I am not necessarily. I'll be honest. I'm not a fan of like the DC universe. I really like Batman and like the movies that have come off him, especially like the standalones or like
yeah,
the Christian Bale trilogies and stuff. I don't like it when he interacts with like the super friends and all that stuff. I just, it hasn't been done to something that I enjoy, but I really enjoyed this one. And like, because I like that younger Bruce Wayne and just kind of the
yeah,
grittier. I know we say that about every single Batman movie that comes out. And I'm excited for the show because like there was that Gotham show that was on and I enjoyed
yeah,
it, but it definitely felt too mainstream, like kind of nightly television kind of clean. But I enjoyed the serial weekly nature of it. And so I'm excited for the Penguin because it's going to give us more of that, like that weekly kind of television. Like I like seeing more shows kind of branch into that. Like, I mean, we've seen it do well with Marvel. We've seen it do well with Star Wars. And so I think it'll
yeah.
be cool to see that with this universe. I'm excited for it. The other trailer that I saw was a bit of a change of pace. Uh, was the Inside Out 2 trailer, which is
Cool.
the Disney Pixar movie. Inside Out, like I just kind of have like a weird, like I'm excited for it. Like I enjoyed Inside Out, but then like the longer it, like I liked it for like its discussions on mental health and like things like that. But then I think it got a little long in the tooth after a while. Like it's not a movie that I can rewatch a bunch. Um, but this one I'm excited for because they're introducing a lot of like new characters to go along with them. Like in I think it's
Hmm.
envy, anxiety, embarrassment, and Ennui. And it's like, oh, this will be cool because it's dealing kind of with like teenagers and the complex emotions, and it's not as I think it's gonna be more complex than the first one. But all that to say, I'm
Yeah.
excited for it. It'll be interesting to see what they do. I feel like they haven't come through with a heavy hitter in a while with like the Pixar movies that people really like fall in love with and really clamor about for years to come. So it'll be interesting to see if that satisfies this or if it's just a kind of another moment in time thing. But I know that comes out in June, which is a lot sooner than I
Well,
thought.
they've done some amazing stuff recently, and it just hasn't got
Yeah.
hadn't had the traction that it kind of needed. I mean,
Mhm.
was it Soul came out 2 years ago at Christmas? Was
I believe
am
so. Yeah,
I? Yeah, I mean
that came out.
that's a phenomenal film. Absolutely, I was in bits. I was honestly blubbing like a baby. It was such a good film, really, really good film. I'd argue one of the best. Um,
Interesting.
but
It's
of
interesting that
course
that's one of your
of
favorites.
course it went. Well, I guess it's the subject matter and the individual that he was, and what he was trying to, his aspirations, but ultimately he just loved teaching as well. I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and yeah, it was. It just didn't get the shout that it needed. I mean, I needed it at the time because I think we needed it at the time because, of course, we were all in lockdown. So, hence the reason why it
Yeah.
never saw the light of day in cinema, and it was straight out on Disney Plus. And good God, it was amazing that coming out of the
Mhm.
Christmas where we were all pretty much, we couldn't see so many of our family and loved ones and friends. It came out at just the right time, but yeah, no, it's a shame. It's a shame it never got as much attention or as much traction as it deserved because it was a good piece of work. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, all the movies that have come out, I've enjoyed all of them. Like Lightyear, like
Yeah.
even if you step into Disney realm, like Turning Red, Luca, Soul, Onward, like I enjoyed all of
Mm,
those films. But it's not
mm,
had. I don't think they've had like some of the weight. So I mean, It'll be interesting. I mean, I'll go see it.
God, I could spend all night on this. Luke, I forgot about Luca. Luca's amazing.
Yeah,
Absolutely amazing.
that one definitely doesn't get. I know they're bringing some of the characters into some of the parades and stuff, but like Luca's one of those ones where, like, even I think Soul and Luca are both getting characters in the parks like pretty
Great.
prominently soon.
Good.
And so it's like, yeah, they haven't been maybe making up for lost time through the pandemic and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe.
but yeah, they're all good movies. But outside of that, do I have any other news besides the big heavy one? I don't think so. I think all we have left is Star
So
Wars
Sean,
Celebration.
okay, I was gonna build up
I,
to it, but okay, no problem.
okay, here.
Sean, tell us the news. What's going on?
Yeah, there's this thing called Star Wars Celebration. It's coming. It's going to be a cool thing. It's a big deal. Wow. Okay, next. No. Tickets for frickin'. I mean, my note says a lot of profanity, celebration, woo, exclamation marks,
Yeah,
woo, like a lot of woots,
yeah.
and I really didn't need that much room for it. I probably could have saved some space, but
So we've been told that tickets for Celebration will be available to order from 7 p.m. EDT on May the 2nd of this year, which will be midnight my time, which is fine. That's okay. That's doable. But yeah, I'll be taking some a lot of hits of coffee that evening and trying to get my tickets. But that's good. We've got a date now. We've got something to. It feels real. We've been talking about it for
yeah,
so goddamn long that it finally
I'm
feels real. I mean, you and I talking, offline about hotels and doing, where we're going to stay. Let's make sure we're together because I'm already in and out a day either side of the con itself. So I need to be I need to be relatively accessible to the venue. So it's all happening now, and I know that we've been talking
yeah.
about it with all of our buddies in the Discord for the last 12 months, but it's actually we've got a focus point now, being the
Well, yeah.
2nd
I
of
mean,
May, where we get our
it's
tickets.
already got my blood pressure up. Like, I'm not worried about getting a ticket. Like I have confidence that we'll get a ticket to go. I wish it was a month sooner. I'm actually surprised it's going to be in May since the con is in April. Like,
Yeah,
a lot of hotels and stuff open up a year and like a year out, and so the fact that it's in May, like, that's probably what has me the most anxious. Like, I know Madison and I are currently looking, because that's the thing
well,
that has always sucked for me.
you think people are booking now? Do you? Hotels,
I'm looking. I'm familiarizing
right?
myself because they haven't fully announced anything about a hotel lottery going out similar to what they've done in past years. So I'm starting to
Right.
look now just to familiarize myself with the area, see what's available, because I mean, especially when there's a language barrier and things like that, it's not as easy as like looking at Anaheim for me and being like, okay, I know the area, I know the hotels. They may not pop up on Google, but I know which ones I can call and get right
Yeah.
into. And so that's something I've been digging into a little bit, just because, like, I don't want it to get close to time and they're like, oh, hey, by the way, we're not doing a hotel lottery. Or I'll be honest, like, my biggest pain points in the past with Celebration have always been that is a nightmare. Like, I don't get my hopes up anymore about getting like a Jedi Master VIP. Like, those
Oh,
those are gone in about 4 seconds to all the people on the private pre-sale
yeah, but
lists
unless you
anyways.
can, yeah, but even then, if you could, I mean, a huge part of it I mean, this celebration just gone last year. What made it for me was the people I met and
Oh
the
yeah.
engagements we had and the fun we had. Unless absolutely all of us can get VIP tickets, I'm okay. I'm okay not to, if it meant that with a VIP ticket, I would feel that I needed to get my money's worth and I'd have to go to everything. I'd
Well,
have to be up, and I wouldn't. I'd actually probably feel a little bit more inhibited to make last minute decisions on where I'm going to be and how. Do you understand what I mean?
yeah.
It
Yeah.
introduces a certain amount in my mind because of the amount of money you're spending on it. I think it's nearly $1,000. Um, the amount of money you'd have to get your money's worth, and you'd have to um, be at, like I said, certain place, certain time, to make sure you did get that money's worth. And what I really enjoyed about last year was just how low key and chill we were about where the day took us, and I really enjoyed it. And we'd break off and do a few
Yeah.
things on our own, and then come back together again, like a like a team. It was great. It was really really good. And yeah, I'm not that bothered about VIP. I just wanted to get a ticket to get in. And
I mean, I
if I
think
don't,
I- if
I'll stand
if I
outside, and
was ever
you can text me.
if I was ever presented with the opportunity to get one and the price was something within my wheelhouse,
Yeah,
I'd probably still get one, but not for the reason that I think everybody wants one
right.
normally. Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, you get to sit in the front of the big panels. Like, yeah, I'm with you. I want to sit with my friends. I want to wait in line with my friends. Like
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
panels and stuff are the ones that I want to experience with people that I know. And so those I wouldn't change. The things that I would change are the other experiences that I think that take away from that time, which so
yeah,
every once in a while, like sometimes I'll go and get autographs, or I'll go. I need like my lottery time to go to the store, and so I would use
yeah,
it to so for autographs you can like there may be a huge line for people waiting autographs, and
yeah,
I hate this system, but it's like, oh, Jedi Master VIPs have a separate line, like a fast pass that they can go and beep bop right to the front. It's like, I hate it because they're always the people who walk up with like 700 Funko Pops. And it's like, great, we've all been waiting here. But like, you hate to say, like, oh, I mean, it might be kind of nice to not wait in line and go do this.
yeah,
I, I don't know.
yeah. But
It's a quandary.
to spend money so that you can spend money, I don't prescribe to that. I do agree with you about the store access though. Um, despite me saying I don't like the idea of, you can only get these products that we're selling, which we'll earn profit from if you spend a bit more money, in fact, a lot more money, to be able to spend that money on that product that we're going
Well,
to make profit
it's
from.
about optimizing time.
I mean,
It's about optimizing time.
I'm with you, but one thing I will
Yeah.
say is that uh, what was left in the store when I finally got in last year, it's trash. It really is trash. I mean, the some of the quality of the t-shirts that I've got, and I know that there's some really really good stuff out there, but yeah, yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
didn't.
Any of the t-shirts
Some
or
of them,
apparel are always garbage. It's always the oddball stuff. And that's what's funny too.
yeah,
It's like you would assume that it would all sell out immediately, but it's all at the whim of the restocking times. So
mm,
like you may
mm,
go in at noon and everything's gone, and then a shift comes in and they restock the whole floor and everything's back again. And so this is just a note for people who've never been to Celebration. If you go this time, don't be disheartened by if you get like a later lottery time, because stuff may be in there. Like you never know. Like the skateboard deck that I got last year,
oh, that
they
was
were
sick.
technically
That was,
they
yeah, yeah, yeah,
they were sold out of them, but then they were like, oh, we found another box, and they just went up, put it out. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll take that, thanks,
yeah,
uh,
yeah, 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 yeah. No,
and walked
I
away.
remember.
Uh, but yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for Celebration. Um, I'm ready for it. I think it's also a forcing function of like I want to know who's going to go. Like I want to, and I think that'll be kind of that time when people really start making those decisions of,
Yeah,
like we think we might not. Because if you get tickets, because usually you can resell them if you end up having to change.
yeah.
Like you can't make it, but that's at least a kind of a line of like it's real, it's happening. We got our tickets, we got our hotels, um, and things like that. So I'm
Well,
excited.
as
I'm very
soon,
excited for
yeah,
Celebration.
as soon as you, I mean, again, bookings for hotels can and can't be, despite they can and can be refunded, albeit without a holding deposit. But as soon as people start booking flights, that's when it starts getting serious. Because
Yeah,
I don't know about you guys, but certainly over here at the moment, you try and get a refund on a flight, and it's pretty impossible if you're going to pay a decent price for your flight. If you pay a premium price for your flight, yeah, of course they'll offer you a refund. You'll have a refund policy with it. But if you're on a decent price to get out there in the first place, they're typically non-refundable. Anyway,
yeah.
so yeah, looking forward to that. And I'm guessing this isn't a one and done conversation. As we ramp now, um, This is gonna be an ongoing subject. So maybe we should have I don't know, a celebration section going forward. Certainly as it starts amplifying and the momentum gets there, and we get a little bit excited.
Absolutely. Like a road to celebration series.
Oh, I like it. Should we let's patent that. Let's patent that. Let's make t-shirts. Road to Celebration. Given to you by Just Shilling. A non-salty.
I am
A
low sodium,
a low sodium podcast.
We can
approved by medicine.
We can make stamps. I am making stamps. I'm still working on that. That's something I'm excited about. So I think that's another reason why I'm excited to find out who's going. So it's like, oh, we can make podcast stamps for our friends that are going and exchange them like the Eki train station stamps that they have over there, and make them part of our collection book and things like that. And so,
very cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. I did start work on the celebration events website again. I started with a clean slate. We're gonna do a little bit better this year. Got to convince Andy to use it over pen and paper. Here we go. Mission set. We'll see if we can do it. You're my target audience there, but I got plenty of time. More updates on that to come.
Thank you, son. Right. Let's talk about the next. Let's move on because we've got another episode of Bad Batch that we want to get through as well. What have you been watching this week, or listening to, or catching up on?
So a couple quick ones. I did finish Halo Season 2. Same kind of thing. Like if you tried watching the first season, didn't like it, I highly suggest watching Season 2. It still doesn't follow the game 100%. There's definitely stuff that's different, but it gets very, very exciting. The minor spoiler, but I'm not going to say anything about it. But I'll just say it's like the Flood is involved in live action Halo, so it's like that alone is worth it. It gets really good near. Like Season 2 is way better than Season 1. Highly recommend. Not like above everything else, but it's like if you run out of stuff, which we all inevitably do, pick it up and try it again. It's pretty good.
I like different takes on stuff, and I know I keep, I'm repeating a conversation that you and I had a few weeks back, so I won't go too much into it though. But a different take on a known story, I think, is a good thing, because if you try, like I said before, if you try and copy it like for like in the live action form, you fail. I mean, look at what happened in comic books with in animation with Cowboy Bebop. Look at what happened in video games with Doom, the Doom film. Good God, with The Rock and Carl Urban. You try and keep it really close to the source content, and you end up failing because nobody can. It's impossible to meet people's expectations, especially with so many diverse expectations. So I think it's a good thing. I will follow up. I am good to my word. I already told you that I've without talking about it too much, without giving too much away, I do follow up on the recommendations you give me. So I will watch Halo.
Yeah, I mean it's a rolling list, so it can stay. It's not at the top. It can stay down where it's at. When work your way through, there may be a lot of other things that go up above it, but it's on that list of like, don't believe everything you read online. Like, it may not be for some people. It follows pieces of the story, but what it does differently, I'm very interested in, because it is a different take, and it's I don't know, it's better than watching, I don't know, crap on YouTube. Besides, I do like watching like baking and how it's made videos on YouTube. That's kind of cool though.
I like how
it's not made better than those.
I was watching earlier on a resin coffee table Mia made, and I was thinking, just how hard can it be to mix this kind of resin and make and fashion my own furniture? And then I realized it was actually quite hard, so it's not such a good idea. But yeah, no, I'm into those kind of making videos, and I've gone off at tangent again. Carry on, please, Shawn.
I'm interested to know how many people are going to get resin related illnesses in the future from all of the resin. Like I use resin, but I'm also keenly aware of like what it can do to your
Yeah.
like nervous system and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then there's a lot of people. That's why I wish the resin content would like take a chill pill a little bit. It's like, man, you people are going to be out there getting hurt pouring resin countertops and not taking this stuff seriously. But anyways, I've continued to tangent. Um, Another thing I watched, I have an update. It's kind of minor. So last week I didn't poo poo X-Men 97, but I wasn't feeling it that much. I gave it another shot. I will say it's good. I think because
Excellent.
I had this mentality of like, oh, I'm going to go back and watch the originals. I started watching the originals. It's like, no, I can't do this. This is not for me.
Well, you didn't.
But
You didn't. You were positive. You just couldn't answer the question. Who is this for? I mean, you asked yourself. You were.
I think I can
That's
this
all
week.
you were saying. Oh, good. Cool.
I think so. That's one of my things that says update. X-Men 97 is for, in my opinion, adults.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot deeper, it's a lot stronger than the original series was. And it also helped. I have this video I linked in one of the Discords of like, hey, if you're not familiar with the series, there's like a 35-minute video that literally covers every episode in like 30 minutes from the original series.
Yeah, I saw that.
Super helpful because there's stuff that happens in these 3 episodes that have been released that are like referenced in that video. Then some of them are deep in the weeds, but it's like, hey, I know what they're talking about. But yeah, it's cool. I'm enjoying it. It's still weird that it's like serial and stuff, but
sure. Can we add that link in the show notes? Can we do that?
Yeah, I can do that.
Listen.
Can we do that? Can we do that? Oh, I didn't realize we could do that. Oh, brilliant.
We can absolutely do that. But yes, X-Men 97. I'm enjoying it.
Nice.
The other thing I saw, I actually went to the movie theaters to see this the day it came out. I went and saw the new Ghostbusters movie. That was, I mean, if you didn't like Afterlife, you're not gonna like this. So I'll just throw that out there. I liked Afterlife. I really liked this. The actress who plays Phoebe is
she's
phenomenal.
Awesome. Yeah.
She's the big bad. I won't say anything about him besides it's a kind of a callback. There's things in this one that happened that's like reminiscent of the originals, where it's like there's just moments where like, damn, that's like kind of scary. Like it's kind of a goofy Ghostbusters movie that's like, what they like amped up to, like, we want to scare the shit out of people. Like, let's make it like scarier than the movie's general tone. And they had some of that in there. Is cool. Old cast was in it. It's not a spoiler. They're openly in it. It was good. I enjoyed it. I did not get a bucket, unfortunately, but yeah.
Well, they were, by the looks of it, they were quite pricey as well, weren't they?
I have no idea. They didn't even offer them at my stupid little theater. It was me and 2 other people in this theater. That's how small my local hometown theater is.
So it's Easter weekend in the UK. So we typically we get Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Well, of course the weekend, but Friday and Monday off as part of the Easter weekend. So the girls have come back, and we're debating whether to go on Easter Sunday. We're not particularly spiritual people, so we don't observe. So we're thinking of what, making the most out of the time that we've got off, and so we're thinking about going on Sunday. So with that recommendation, I'd say there's a pretty good chance that we're going to go, because although I have read and promptly ignored, because I'm getting a bit tired of some negativity out there, I have read that it might not be for all people. It's not as should we say solid as the last one.
There's a lot of shit going on in it. I will say there is.
Sure.
It is a movie that is packed end to end with stuff happening. I mean, there's also 100,000 characters that they're dealing with. Like,
well, that's one of the complaints that I'm picking up on, and like I said, I typically now I'm starting to ignore them now because it's getting a little bit dull, and I'll make my own mind up. Thank you very much, because now I'm an adult. But yeah, that's one of the things is that there's no kind of focal point on, because there are so many characters that they need to follow through. Question I do have for you is: does this? It didn't happen in the last film. Does this film show a handover, if you like? It does it in the conclusion of the film? Does it show the handover of the fire, of the fire station, and the all of the kit and the ghost traps and the Ecto-1? Does it show if you like, a passing of the torch between the older generation and the kids?
So kinda.
Right.
In a sense, the handoff has already happened.
Right. Okay.
Kind of.
Okay.
And so it's not a hand the lightsaber to the other person and it's like, this is the handing of the baton, and now
Yeah.
it's
Who is
that
Excalibur? Yeah.
that's like, that is kind of already happened in a sense, but that's kind of about that arc as well. I will say, for the people who, and maybe a little expectation setting, if there's a lot of critical reviews of, like, I mean, there's a ton of people in it, but don't go in expecting a full arc for every character that we've met in Afterlife and before. The movie is about Phoebe. Like,
Excellent.
Like, it is her arc.
I love that.
And if you go in with that mentality, like this is her movie. It's about that, and then everything that kind of connects to it, then you're fine. Yes, there's 1.5 billion people in it. You're not going to get full arcs for every individual, because there's a lot. There was a lot in Afterlife and things like that.
And that's great, because she carried that last film. She really, really did. And I thought that,
Yeah.
I think most people, myself included, was expecting, hey, it's the kid from Stranger Things. He's going to be prominent in this movie, and he was. But goodness me, she shone. She shone and ran that movie. So that's great. If the future of Ghostbusters is with her, I'm really happy.
And I think they did a better job at that with this film, because I think the previous had that kind of issue of like, which kid is the main kid.
Yeah.
And this one, they do a really good job. It's like Finn Wolfhard is not the main character in this movie. He's there, but he's definitely not the primary. I will say that I know for a fact where a lot of these negative reviews are coming from. There is a certain contingent of individuals who tend to be upset by everything, that I guarantee you are upset because they are making something out of a perception or something that they are hearing on the internet. I'm not going to say what it is, but things that make these people, like, it's nothing that's actually there.
Yeah.
They're going to assume it's there, and they're mad about it. So just know that there's reasons.
No, that's fine. No, that's like I said, I choose to cherry pick what I want to read and what I don't want to read, and the minute I don't like the smell of something, I typically walk away. So no, that's fine, and I don't think we should spend any time on those kind of people and their kind of sentiment anyway. Okay, cool. What else have you been up to, mate? I'm looking forward to that. I don't want to hear any more, by the way. I'm looking forward to it now. You've got me pumped.
I have not spoiled anything in that movie, but the only other thing I saw was I watched Dune 2 at home on my TV.
You saw it at home?
Yeah, I saw it at home. I haven't had time to go spend 3 hours in a movie theater, even though I saw Ghostbusters, which I saw it at home. My general sentiment while watching it was, what the hell is going on? I really enjoyed it. It was a really good movie, but it took me a minute to every once in a while I'd have to pause it and be like my general sentiment is because I'm not familiar with the Dune. I mean, I know the high level. I saw the old movies 1 billion years ago, but it's I enjoyed the first one, and then this one I kind of come in. I kept pausing it and being like, did I miss something? Did I miss a section of scenes? or are we just going from X or from A to C? We skipped B, but we just assumed that B happened. It's like, yep. And I watched it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I think I'm just supposed to like fill those gaps in. Like, and that's not a bad thing. It's just like a more of a, did I get a, am I watching a weird version of this? Or is this just how it
Yeah,
goes? So I kind of had that
I,
self doubt, but it's like, it
I
was like,
guess
whoa, what's
I've
going on?
yeah, I guess because I've had the pleasure of reading the books. I didn't experience that, but and I need to ask Lucy because when we went to see it, when we went to see it, she was a bit meh about part one, and then she loved part two.
Yeah.
Because the pacing is very, very different. It's very, very
Yes.
different.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
accelerates and goes to, goes batshit crazy extremely quickly. However, I didn't think of asking her if she was following it or not, which is probably something I should have asked her. But yeah, I think everything's there that you need to
No, I think
know.
it's
But
all, I
there's
mean, it
so
makes sense.
but
It
everything's
makes
so
sense.
grand that you
Yeah.
kind of probably miss a lot. There's a heck of a lot of there's a massive opportunity of missing context along the way. Um,
I'll be
don't
honest.
know,
Here's what I
don't know.
compare it to. I compare the viewing experience to, like, not the quality of movie, but the viewing experience is very similar to, at least for me as an American, the Fantastic Beasts movies, where it's
Yeah,
like I have to watch these movies with subtitles on because I
yeah,
do not know what the hell anybody is talking about, and it's like there's so many like names and
yeah,
terminology that I'm like, without subtitles, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna follow visually and be like, which is fine. That's a
yeah.
fine
And
viewing experience.
I
But if I
can
want to
I
get it,
can
I
I can
have to
relate
like
to that.
see it.
I can relate to that, and I'm a Brit, and so should follow Eddie pretty well. But I get that. I we went to see the last one with the guy that they changed up, um, Mads Mikkelsen, um, the third of the films recent when it came out a few years back, and I must admit I was confused to hell, and I did not understand, and I didn't think I'd missed a beat from the previous film with Johnny Depp. Um, but I didn't understand an awful lot. So that's good context for me that explaining why you might have not understood it as much as I did. I need to ask Lucy. I genuinely don't know whether she knew what was going on now. Now you've said that, but cinematically, it's a masterpiece, right?
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. Like once you kind of get past that, like, wait, she's like, because there's always those moments. At least for me, it's like, wait, she's like communing with the baby in her womb. Oh,
Mm,
okay,
mm,
okay, like, okay, I
mm,
got it. Okay, I'm following now.
mm.
That's who they're talking to. Um, oh,
Yeah.
he's like verbal. He's like laying. Like, I'm not trying to spoil anything. Like, if people know it, it's like, is it even
Well, I mean,
spoilable? It's like,
give it.
like,
Give us 2 minutes, guys. If you haven't seen Jew Part Two yet, give us 2 minutes, and we'll be back with you in a second.
yeah, spoiler starting now. It's like, oh, he's laying on the sand and he's just like talking or like staring off, and it's like, oh, he's like talking in his head to people. Like, once you kind of get past those like mental notes of like, oh, this is what's
Yeah,
happening,
yeah.
it immediately follows. The action stuff all makes sense. The
So,
emperor stuff makes sense. All that is all like, okay, clear cut and forward. But it's the,
so the spice is everything. So if you think about
yeah,
everything, the spice in the center. The spice is, um, and I don't think it's given away in part three, in part two. So I won't go too far. But the spice and the worms are symbiotic. There's a relationship there that will become clear in part three. God willing, it's actually made. The
that's why they're both blue. The blue juice and the
Yeah,
blue
yeah, yeah,
eyeballs,
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
they're all kind of connected.
No spoilers at all. It wasn't shown, which surprised me, but no spoilers at all. In part one, the spice impacts people. So the spice essentially is a drug that
Yeah,
is used from something as simple as flavoring all the way through to the best of medication, the best of medicine. Sorry, the best all the way through to establishing a higher consciousness. So you've got people and cultures that have kind of almost formed themselves around the existence of the spice that can only be found on Arrakis. And so there's, I mean, first of all, space travel cannot happen without spice, because there is no such thing as faster than light travel in
They
this.
have like this. They have like the Star Wars Navigator hyper Skywalkers kind of thing going
Exactly.
on.
And we didn't get to see them, but these navigators essentially are humans that have taken so much spice over a very, very protracted period of time that they themselves have changed, not only in form but in mind as well, and they're able to essentially manipulate space and time to make these to be able to travel from one point to another in the blink of an eye or instantaneously. And that's what the spice. So if you think of the navigators as the uber high end of the influence that this spice has had on humanity, and then if you consider them, if you like, the top of the pile, you then go work your way down, and then part of that is this Bene Gesserit sisterhood, which again is a religion, the Bene Gesserit religion, that has focused itself on spice and uses the spice to develop their own mental capabilities. Not as extreme as the navigators, because they're still human form. But they have ingested spice, and in doing so, they're able to have these unnatural abilities, such as reading minds, talking to each other from across great distances. I mean, it's very, some of the skills they've got is very Force like, being able to be able to endure awful lot of pain, be able to be superior in combat, to be able to impact people with the sound of their own voice. So they talk about the voice an awful lot in part one.
The loud booming voice stuff that they do, where they're
exactly, and that was typically a skill or a set of skills that were predominantly exclusive to women. Hence the Bene Gesserit sisterhood. And there was this prophecy that a man would come. A hero comes our way. A man would come, and he would, if you like, inherit the Bene Gesserit skills and abilities, which for any other man would normally kill them, or they would not be able to achieve it. And that's what Paul has become, essentially. So he's inherited everything that the Bene Gesserit can do, but because he is essentially the chosen one, he's going a little bit further than that as well. And you'll see that hopefully you'll see where that takes him in part 3, which is should be the adaptation of the second book of the series, Dune Messiah, which should finish the story.
Sorry. Yeah, so I enjoyed it. A part of me is like, because I have friends who are all Dune fans, like they've read the books, and it's like, they fill in the gaps for like YouTube videos or whatever, like fill in the gaps of like, here's what that meant, and it's there's characters like Austin Butler's character, the Harkonnen nephew, and it's like, and the psychopath.
Like,
like a part of me's like
Fade Raltha. Yeah.
A part of me's like, he did a really good job, but it felt like, I'm sure the books had more for him, because it just felt kind of like, let me TLDR where I'm going with this. A part of me's like wonders, these are cinematic masterpieces. They were really good, but would it have been better as a prestige television series where you can flesh some of this stuff out and like
Yeah.
give some of these characters more meat on the bones, because it just seems like that movie was boom, 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 boom. Next thing
Yeah.
you know, it's like, and then it's chopped.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that was the second half of the first book, and it's like, I feel like there was some stuff that, like, yeah, you are getting the most out of
Yeah.
it if you've read it, like
Yeah. So the
everything.
revolution on Arrakis that Paul runs is
Mhm.
that's over a period of 5 years. You didn't see that. You didn't see that progression. You didn't see that. Yeah, an awful lot of it has been condensed. There's an awful lot that's missing. So, for example, I don't think I'm giving anything away to you here, but Alia,
I
sorry,
mean,
who is
I think
Paul's.
I know where the story goes, so you can spoil it for me because I already
Okay,
know that, like, what
so
happens in the
Paul's
future.
sister, so
Yeah,
Paul's mum, who is talking to her baby, so so Paul's sister, who is in
Paul's not the hero of the
no,
bigger
but yeah,
story.
yeah, no, but Paul's sister, who is in his mother's tummy, she should have been born by now.
Hmm.
Um, so so in order to complete his trilogy, Denny is messing about a little bit with the timeline, in order to focus on what's important of the original book to convey that, and then using other things from the original book to pad out the second book, which is part 3. But as a book,
Hmm.
it was significantly shorter, significantly shorter book. And so what he's clearly doing is he's leaving some of that goodness for part 3, which would have been again the second book, um, in order to give it a little bit more substance and to make sure that the viewing public that may not know the lore, or what the hell's going on, to keep them relatively invested in the plot, because you start introducing a bunch of lore and a bunch of confusion,
Yeah,
and to your point, a bunch of stuff that, quite frankly, does it really accelerate the story? I I doubt it. Um, so keeping it as lean as he possibly can, because it really is a heavy going, rich book.
there's a
It
lot of
really
stuff going
is.
on. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
No, no,
you have to
it's really.
portray the you have
Oh,
to portray
it's
like the moving
crazy.
north, and like, oh, 'cause, to me, like the odd cuts were around. Like in the beginning, they were like, we don't trust him. The next thing you know, it immediately cuts, and there's like people popping up on the spice harvester, and it's like, wait a minute, did I just miss something? Did I black out for 10 minutes? And it's like, oh wait, that's him, he's there now. Like, oh, they must trust him enough to do that. And so it's like, oh, there's a
Yeah,
time jump. Like,
what's
it shows
happened in
him.
part one? In part one, the Bene Gesserit sisterhood go to Arrakis before the Atreides family and start the rumor of the chosen one, if you like,
Yeah.
uh, about him coming, which is the reason why you'll see two different factions going on amongst the people of Arrakis, especially the Fremen who live. You'll see people that are cynical and don't trust him. Uh, for example, and then those that have already embraced him as being the Messiah, because
Mhm.
the Bene Gesserit people have got to them. So, hence the reason why Jessica, his mum, a lot of her role in part 2 is sowing the seed of credibility of her son, so that he can um, survive, but and b, to lead this revolution going forward. So you didn't miss anything, but there's an awful lot going in the background that you don't see. There is once or twice. There are moments where her congregation will talk to Jessica, and she in turns manipulates what's going on in order to put Paul into a really, really good light, so that they share the story with the villagers and with the other Fremen, that this guy is something to look at and someone to be adored. It's
So,
very,
and
very, it's very political. I mean, it's not all. This is the thing. This is the thing. There's a bunch of diehard folk that like the original '80s. Dino De Laurentiis. The original production that David Lynch and those guys did, and it was It was great. It was great, but it didn't. It kind of made Paul a superhuman. That he was born with these gifts. That he was somehow different, and that he did all these amazing superhuman things because he is the chosen one. Whereas if you consider and what Denny's done, which I think is really smart, is ground it in the basis of the story in the original context of the novels, which is really. And I'm sorry we're spending way too much time on this, but good God, this is what happens when you engage with me on something I really love. Anyway, I'll finish now, but I will say the the Paul's position as leader is not just about his abilities alone in the fact that he's ingested spice and obviously the bile of the sandworm now as well, which takes him to that next level beyond where the spice can. Um, it kind of it, it it's not just about that. It's also about the people believing his abilities. And
Yeah.
what comes with that is a certain amount of fake news, or should we say, a certain amount of PR massaging that his mum's
Yeah.
doing and her cronies are doing to um to land the message that this guy is the Messiah. Anyway, sorry, I spent way too honestly I could spend
Well, I
hours
have one
on
more
this
question
stuff.
for you
I
though.
love it. Sorry, go on.
I have one more question for you just to kind of clarify it. Is the motivating factor for the Bene Gesserit like a holy war? Which is it? Power? Is it spreading their faith? What is their
They
motivating
don't want. They
factor?
don't want to. You know what you'll see now is that you'll see the Bene Gesserit kind of almost split. So you saw Gaius Mohiam, who is the Bene Gesserit leader uh, across the known universe, who was advising the Emperor Christopher
Okay, the Emperor's
Walken,
Bene Gesserit. Got it. Okay, following.
and then that's his Bene Gesserit lady, and then you've
Yep.
got Jessica, who is the Bene Gesserit priestess on Arrakis, and
Yep.
they're kind of fighting a
Like
little bit now.
like a power struggle. But what's the
Yeah, bit of
larger purpose of them? They're like, what's their larger like? What do they like? Because I
to
imagine they don't always want
control.
to be behind, control everything as their goal.
No. They are the Illuminati. That's exactly what they are.
Yeah, that's
They are the Illuminati. I mean, they control the. I mean, the emperor is a puppet emperor. I
yeah.
mean, the whole galaxy is essentially um, run by the guild navigators who control the
Mhm.
the spice and the sorry the space lanes, and the Bene Gesserit who control um, the aristocracy, the class system,
Mhm.
sorry the caste system that
They're like the
control
advisors that are really controlling
control the
things.
control the lineage, and the reason why they control the lineage and control what happens in the upper echelons of society is for their own personal benefit.
Yeah, makes sense.
They're like I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, they are the Illuminati. They do it. They do it for power. They do it for control. They are in charge, albeit under the guise of an advisor.
Yeah, that yeah. Never seen that make that clear. It's just like what I don't. I think I missed in the first. Cause I didn't rewatch the first one before watching this
Yeah,
one. It's like, oh, I think it's straightforward, and like I get the main points, but it's like, oh crap, there was actually a lot in there.
yeah.
It's
No,
like what
totally,
are it's
totally.
sometimes it's hard to find the motivations of like what certain groups are doing. Is it because it's not always the trope, the common trope of like what other
And
stories will usually go to.
and
It's
that's why I'm so into these films. I think what Denny's done is to make it as simple as possible for folk to. It's so hard. It's like I mean, reading these books is like wading through treacle. They are really deep, and what I think he's done is make it palatable in the same way that if you like. I mean, have you read the Lord of the Rings? They're not easy reads, and so the way that Peter Jackson interpreted it. But I guess it's a lot more. It's a lot easier to translate um, the the world of Middle Earth because it's less politics and more about kings and
It'd be like trying to make a
baddies and dragons and
Game of
shit.
Thrones movie where it's like we're going to make
Yeah,
a Game of Thrones trilogy, and it's like there's a lot to pack in there. We may
yeah,
have to
yeah,
trim some stuff off,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah. Other than that, I'll make a marker here with my hand mentally. This is the end of
Yeah.
the Dune talk, so I can put a chapter marker in there. And the only other thing I saw was Shogun, but we can save that one for if you want to talk about it, or we can talk about it in the future. So
let's
that's all I
talk.
saw.
Let's talk about. So let's talk about Shogun. I mean, I'm loving it. I caught up on
Oh,
5 that I missed last week, and then obviously another episode dropped on Monday, and I've watched that, and I have to say it is the most realistic and delightful program I've seen for quite a while, and I love the fact that I would say a good 4/5, if not higher, um, of the series is spoken in Japanese. I love
yep.
that. I love the fact that whereas as I said, the version that we got back in the 80s was very much targeted at a Western audience, and I'm loving. I seriously am loving this, and it's a lot. It's a lot deeper. It's a lot more juicy. It's a lot more nuanced and beautifully shot. I mean, even
Mm-hmm.
when it's a rainy day, it's absolutely stunning. The photography, um, or cinematography, sorry, of that series, and I am stoked. And I think you and I spoke about this earlier on before we started recording, but when this series wraps up, I really want to do a deep dive with some of our friends that may well have got involved as well, because it's just worth watching. It really is, and it's worth enjoying and sharing with each other.
Yeah, I mean, there's bigger things at play, and it's like it's one of those ones that we could spend a whole podcast each week talking about each episode and where we think it's going. I mean, I've never saw the original, so I don't know where it's going to go. So it's all new
Hmm.
to me, and so a lot of it is like stuff that's happened this week, where it's really starting to get into the meat of the relationships and pet the past and like why introducing some new characters, introducing like why certain people are doing certain things. It's very reminiscent of like the way I felt about Game of Thrones in the early seasons,
Yeah,
like where you're still surprised. Like I never read the Game of Thrones books, but it's like you're surprised at the way things are going down. But I think what I love about it the most, besides the cinematography and things like that, is and the the leaning into the Japanese language and not making it easy for you. You have to pay attention, but it's it leans so heavily on the Japanese culture as a whole and at the time of you don't get the ease of knowing the usual Western storytelling motives,
no,
the paths, and it's like no, they will this person will die for honor, like because that is what their lord told them to do. Like you're not going to get that in the stereotypical Western story. So it's like it's fresh, it's new, it's exciting, and I love it. I
or
love every minute of it.
the stereotypical Western interpretation of the Shogun story, because
Oh,
it is a novel.
exactly.
It is a novel. You know, it's meant to be based on on true events of an Englishman that was that came up um, whose ship came to the Japans, and but the reenact you know the the brutality of feudal Japan is balanced only by its extraordinary beauty, um,
Mhm.
of the people. I mean, obviously obviously the land itself, um, and yet you've got someone like the West, as I said before in previous episode, that thinking that the West was the most, should we say, the imperialist countries at the time were the most advanced, were the most cultured, had the most highest standards, and yet you realize when you watch something like Shogun just how really, really um, wrong those
Yeah,
nations were, including including England, including the Great Britain. Um, like I said, the amazing amount of beauty and commitment to family and commitment to honor, and it's what made life worth living. And it was there's a certain amount of I keep using the word beauty in that, that
Yeah.
I think is
It's
admirable
not a
even to this day.
story. It's not the story about a Western hero in a foreign land.
No,
That's
no, no, no,
not.
no, no, not
That's
at all,
not what
not
it
at all.
is.
Which is, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, you're absolutely right. I was about to say that, which is the reason why a couple of weeks back you say it's interesting that you see the 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 English
Oh, and I
guy
was
as the
teasing you
hero.
about the English
No, no,
guy.
no, no,
Yeah.
no. But the thing is, at the time I was thinking, actually, do I give it away? He's not. He's kind of the anti-hero in all of this.
Oh, it's like, I mean, I don't know the
Anyway,
story, but it's like, it seems like he's just more of, he's the camera, he's the narrate, not the narrator,
he's
but he's the lens
he's
in which we look through
exactly, 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 exactly.
into.
And I think
He's not even
it has,
he's not even the main character. It's just like he is the
yeah,
Western lens into this in this situation, and he like, especially
yeah,
in the beginning, it's like he's how you learn some of the things, and like so you can
yeah,
bumble along with him, and you can learn the lessons the hard way, the same way that he does. Um, some are just absolutely just like, and you feel it along with them, you feel it along with everybody involved, and I like how they don't shy away from it. Not in like they're like Game of Thrones got long in the tooth with it's like here's a pulpy corpse, like here's brutality and gore and yada yada yada, but they didn't. I think they fell off with like making you feel it emotionally. Like this, it's more about the sitting with things and like and seeing it and feeling it and like and having them explain why you don't
yeah,
react or why you feel a
yeah.
certain way or don't. I really, really, really like that about this show. Um,
Yeah, and I implore anyone that's listening, or and we talk an awful lot of nonsense, but sometimes we do make sense. And I implore anyone that's listening to this, give it a go, give it a go. I mean, you get to beyond, I'd say, episode 2 and 3, and it just launches into something that is really quite different. What
that's
about
not what you
anything?
think it is.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else you're watching, mate?
Nope.
Okay,
What about you?
so I'm going to leave. Well, I'm going to leave what I've watched till last. So I'm still watching Shogun, Dick Turpin, or the incorrect life of whatever it's called. Scrubs, Battlestar Galactica reboot. I have watched or rewatched Hardware. Did you ever watch that? It's a 1990s film. It's really cheap and nasty. And I would say it's probably one of my favorite films ever because it is so cheap and nasty. It's Hardware is a film that was made in the UK when Canary Wharf was first being built. So an awful lot of the abandoned warehouses were being knocked down, and these group of guys thought it'd be a good idea to um, uh, build this, or sorry, to create this film again, done on a shoestring or created on a shoestring, and it includes an awful lot of people in it. So there's a couple of American actors that I can't remember at this moment in time, but you've got Lemmy from Motorhead that's driving around in a taxi boat. You've got the lead singer of The Mission, I think it was. It was either The Mission or Sisters of Mercy, I can't remember. As this desert wanderer who comes across this old droid. Um, uh, and it's all in pieces, it's been blown to bits. And he sells it to this guy who's on his way back from a series of post-apocalyptic wars, and he's at the end of his short tour of duty, and he goes home to visit his girlfriend, and she's an artist, and she's a relatively heavy artist dealing with lots of metals and junk and what I would call a heavy metal artist. And so he gives her this robot that she basically um, welds together in this abstract format as part of her art. Anyway, it transpires that this robot was an old war droid, designed and built for battle, that can eventually that has self-preservation capabilities to be able to pull itself back together. It's completely ridiculous. So this whole thing builds itself together, puts itself together, and it starts going on a killing rampage. I was about to say it's the poor man's Terminator, but it's not even that. It's I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is. It's a ridiculous. Actually, no. What is really interesting is the story. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier on. Comes from 2000 AD. So 2000 AD being the old comic that I used to like, the short story, and that's called Hardware, and that's where the director and the production team took the story and turned it into a 2-hour movie. It's batshit crazy. It's ridiculous. It's got an amazing soundtrack. Mixing uh, heavy metal with ambient dance at the time with opera as well. It's honestly insane. And there's a bunch of folk that you will recognize in the film. Anyway, I watched it recently, had a whale of a time, and it reminded me the reason why I like the film over crikey 34 years ago now. Anyway,
But is it better? Is it better than Short Circuit, or is Short Circuit better?
Oh, nothing beats Short Circuit. Short Circuit's amazing.
There we go. This is why we do a podcast.
I mean, you come on.
Johnny Five is alive.
I mean, it's the polar opposite of Short Circuit. There is no budget making this film. The acting is absolutely atrocious. It's amazingly brilliant. Sorry, amazingly bad. And the special effects and everything are substandard. It's such an amazing film because it's a cult classic and I love it. Anyway, moving on from there. Bad Batch. We're going to move on to in a second. What I've been listening to. There's a guy that Catherine Neame put me on to when we were over in Celebration last year. And there's a guy called Jamie Benning, and he owns he runs a podcast called the Filmumentaries podcast. And he has the most amazing, and he's approaching he's only approaching 100 episodes despite being going for now, I think it's at least 3 or 4 years. The point being is that he interviews some really, really world-class people. So Dennis Mirren, his 100th is with I'm trying to remember what his 100th with. Anyway, he's interviewed pretty much anyone that's been involved in filmmaking, SFX. Only 2 episodes ago, he interviewed Gareth Edwards, and his production team for The Creator. He interviews an awful lot of people, and he does this as his hobby, despite the fact that he has full-time work elsewhere. Phil Tippett. Phil Tippett is his 100th episode. So to celebrate his 100th episode, he's going to release next week or so his interview with Phil Tippett, and they're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. Anyway, and I have subscribed to his Patreon because this guy needs as much help as he can get because he's turning out some really, really good polished stuff, and he's doing it off his own back. Anyway, the point I was making is that his episode but one, so not this last episode, the one before, he did a commentary of Empire Strikes Back with a mate of his. So they met up in a flat somewhere in London, and just listened to and were watching Empire Strikes Back. And it's probably one of the best commentaries I've ever listened to. And I've listened to a lot of people doing a commentary of the media that I love across Star Wars and other things as well. And the reason why I love it is because it's 2 chaps that I can relate to, having a conversation as to the reason why they love the film, memories of watching the film when they were kids, the associated merch that was around at the time. So it was very relative. It wasn't a couple of film directors and producers and creatives talking about the filmmaking process. It's really about the memories at the time that this film was built and what certain scenes and emotions and acting, what kind of emotions that drummed up in them. And I loved it, absolutely loved it, and I recommend anyone that has a hole in their podcasting library. I recommend Filmumentaries because Jamie's doing the Lord's work. He really is. Which leads me to my last point, and I'm going back to what I watched. Now, quite a few episodes ago, I was looking for new content for Lucy and I to have as our show after we'd finished Masters of the Air. In fact, it wasn't that long ago. It was only last week. We were looking for something new, and I promised you a long time ago that I would check out Severance. Well, not only did I check out Severance on Monday or Sunday? Monday of this week. Not only did I check out Severance on Monday of this week, I finished it Monday of this week as well. Well, it might have been Sunday. Anyway, point being, we did the whole lot in a day. We were expecting it to be our new show that would take us a few weeks to complete, but we couldn't tear ourselves away and go to bed, is all I'll say. The first 2 or 3 episodes, I thought, oh, this is quite quirky. It's a bit batshit crazy. I like the idea of it though. Reminds me a little bit of 1984, a little bit of the Truman Show, a little bit of everything really, where everything is kind of, especially 1984, with the idea that the idea of literature being forbidden, and the controlling nature of the corporation. And then as we got on, I started having a vested interest in the characters, especially those on the inside, as it were, the people that were working. And then come the finale, I was in floods of tears. I was throwing chairs out of the window. I was vouching for everyone, and the ending. Without I'm not going to go into too much detail. Honestly, both of us were pretty much about to riot in the little village that we live in at the moment, because the way they ended it was a masterstroke, and pretty much pulled on every emotional fiber in my being. What a amazing show. And I would say I have not been as impacted. I'm sure there's other stuff as well, but I don't feel as if I've been impacted by this show since, I don't know, Breaking Bad. Really, really good. I really, really enjoyed it. And thank you so much for recommending it, because what a blinder. What a blinder. And what an ending.
Yeah, imagine watching it when we did, and we've been waiting on season 2 this whole time.
Yeah.
It's like,
God,
come on. Then you were messaging me stuff. It's like, oh man, I think I put this show out of my mind so much, because I'm so ready for what's next. It's like, oh, because there's no way that season 2 can't be amazing. I mean, it has to be. Like, it has to be amazing. Like, I'm very excited.
Yeah, me too, man. I mean, I really am. I really am looking forward to it, and I guess I had the luxury of blasting through it. Blasting through 9 episodes in one sitting. I'm not sure how I'd feel if I had to sit through waiting a week. I think I'd actually probably end up killing someone.
I think this is why Madison has her rule about not wanting to watch shows until they're over, because of shows like this, where it's like, I can't handle the stress each week. I'm like, but we have to watch it because my friends will spoil it. And so cart, horse, something like that. So you have to watch it, or just.
Yeah, no, like I said, thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. I really, really do appreciate it. Well, cool, man. Well, let's move on to the discussion of the week, which is again another exciting episode of the Bad Batch, episode called The Harbinger. What do you think, mate?
I thought it was good. I was laughing kind of in the beginning of it, because it started going down the path of like, man, this is almost exactly what we said last week. It's like, Asajj is going to show up.
I was about to say, you called pretty much all of that. Asajj shows up rather than them going to find Asajj. She's going to come to them. And you also called, that's the last we're ever going to see of her. And you also called, there's going to be no explanation as to how she survived. So I would say
there was
in
no
the Shawn,
explanation.
if we were playing Shawn Bingo, you'd be doing quite well at the moment.
The explanation of how she survived, well, it wasn't an explanation, but a reference to it was made. But I love how laughably on the nose it was at the very end, where she's just like,
I've got a few
I'm
lives
not out
left.
of life. I've got a few lives
Yeah,
left. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
love it.
yeah.
I love that they're acknowledging it, and they're just like, no, we don't care. They're like cats. They got 9 of them. She's got a few handful left. That's your explanation. It's like solid. Love it. I love how that's, to me, I almost took it as like a, yeah,
Yeah.
that's all you're getting. Go for it.
Yeah.
My other
Yeah.
high level thoughts were can Asajj test my midichlorian count? Because I like Asajj. She's awesome. Please.
Okay. My high level thoughts were it was okay. It was okay.
Yeah.
It was okay. It was fine. It took the story. I'm not sure if it took the story forward. Maybe it took one of the elements or the speculations that we've been thinking whether Omega is force sensitive enough and took that off the table, but did it or didn't it? I don't know, mate. It was all right. It was okay. I've got, as usual, I've just got some bullet points that I wrote down as I was watching it of how I was feeling or what I'd noticed that excited me at the time. I did I did feel as if both this week with Asajj and then the previous week with Fennec, I felt as if they could have been anyone. Like you said last week about Fennec being the bounty hunter that they used to get the objective being that they would get to the next stage. And I'm guessing I understand why Asajj is there, but I felt that her involvement was not as meaningful as perhaps I probably would have expected. Maybe it's because I'm a fanboy and I think she's awesome. And I think she's one of the best things that's come out of animation. And of course, based on an original concept drawing that would have been or could have been Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace. So her whole story, I think, is absolutely friggin' awesome. And it was it was brilliant having her in the show. I don't know, man. I wanted her to stay.
I think.
Does that make sense?
I think
I do. I wanted her to, I know what it is now. I know what it is. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I know what it is now. I wanted her to stay. I wanted her to have more meaning in the ongoing story, and perhaps ally herself with that team, and be the anti-hero that allies herself with our heroes in the same way that she did with Quinlan. And I'm okay. I don't think
it's off the table, though. I don't think it's off the table. I think.
Okay.
I agree with what you're saying for sure about Fennec. Fennec could have been anybody. I think that was like a wasted cameo per se. But this one, I think the core thing that this week brought with having her specifically is I think she was she's one of the few who they could have had come in who brings a gravity and a seriousness to the situation. I think with her almost toying with the 3 of them in the cave and just easily beating the piss out of them, and her comments of like, you do not know what you are dealing with. They are way more dangerous than you assume. Because I think up until now, it's always like the clones are the masters of their kind of situation, and they always get away with it because they're fighting other clones. And she's just like, if she has a high midichlorian count, like, which I go back and forth like every 5 minutes of like, okay, she said that she doesn't have it. She got the thing, came back because she doesn't have the force, but she has Batcher, and so she's a clone, she's resourceful, she made it work. But maybe she does have a high midichlorian count. And what I took away from it was Asajj saying it doesn't matter if she does or doesn't at this point. She has a target on her back. Like, none of it even matters. If they have a target on her, they are way more dangerous than you think they are. You cannot bumble your way out of this. You need to take it very seriously. You need to get the hell out of here. So it's kind of in a way dismissing the, oh, is she force sensitive? She's like, you could have been. Like, it's not the answer that we want. We want the conclusive, like, I don't want her to be. And I was kind of getting upset in the middle of the show. I'm like, I swear, if she lifts a rock, I'm going to be pissed, because I think it diminishes everything that's happened. But then I think at the end, it was kind of like, she could not. I don't know. I don't have the equipment, but she's not doing stuff with it right now. She could get training. I don't know, maybe, but TLDR, shit's serious, and they're never going to stop hunting for you. You three aren't enough. And that's kind of what I took away from it. So it's like, and I don't know if there's anybody else who could have given that levity to it, of like, who else could have come in and been like, you guys seriously have no idea. I know I was in with this circle of people. They're terrifying, and they can make your world a world of hurt really easily. That's kind of where I took from it.
You could be right, and I guess it's because, there was the things like the trope of the sea beast and all that kind of stuff as well. And it kind of, I don't know. I personally felt a little bit robbed, because I want to see more of her. But to your point, we may well still, or indeed, this may simply be a segue to see her again in future animation titles. Now that we know that she is alive, but again, it's another Force user that wasn't around the time of.
I mean, at least they've given her a yellow lightsaber, though. So it's like
true.
So it's like she's not. Maybe she's not picking a side. Maybe she's living her life on her own terms, and like, I don't.
But they.
But and I want that to be okay. I think a part of it too. It's like, I'm not a fan of all the Force users coming into. They're all alive, but like, I do think it's okay if there's like some who are like, yeah, I'm a Force user and that was my past, but like, I'm not participating. And
well, funny you should say that. So there's a hold that thought, because I'll be really, really quick. So, because if it's okay with you, let me just go through
go ahead.
The bullet points in order of the way that the show played out. Crosshairs, he's not comfortable on that island, is he? He's clearly not chilling out at the moment. He hasn't found his balance yet. So that's the first point. That's the first takeaway I had. Secondly, Fennec came true. So our concerns last week, whereby she could be shafting them, actually know what she was doing, was delivering against the promise, albeit in a somewhat different way. Because clearly her and Asajj have a relationship or a mutual respect for each other, which is cool. The fact that Asajj hunted them down without having any kind of information as to where they would be, sick. She's ace. They finally said the midichlorian word during the episode, which I thought was great, because a lot of folk have M count, just call it what it is. Well, they don't know what it is, hence the reason why they're picking up on the M count reference. Although I don't know how you test them. I don't know how you test for midichlorian by immediately jumping into the Force. If you remember when jumping into Force exercises, sorry. If you remember when Qui-Gon back in Phantom Menace, he had that little doohickey where he could take a blood sample and then.
Yeah.
Surely, is that not a common thing? Maybe it is a rare thing that only Jedi had, but That's an
I think it's
easier way
lost.
rather than having to. Oh, is it
Well, I
lost?
think that's what she
Oh,
was
right.
saying.
Okay.
I think it's lost. I think that's why she's like, I can't test for it. These aren't her exact words. I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, to me, I took it as, oh, I can't actually test for that, but I can
Yeah.
try this. And if this is that, if she can do this, then yes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Okay. No, I accept that. That's cool. That's cool. No explanation of how Asajj survived. I put that down as something I liked,
same.
and to be, to be continued. She kicks their asses easily. However, I've got a however to that. She's lost some of her clout, and this is going back to exactly the point that you were talking about. That I thought, I said, put a pin in that for a second, and we'll bring it up. I got the feeling that using and manipulating the Force was quite a struggle for her at times.
Yep.
So when she originally stole or pulled the weapons out of their hands, it didn't go very far. It wasn't
Yeah.
a particularly forceful. It wasn't a huge trajectory that these weapons went out. They didn't go over the cliff. They just kind of fell a few feet from their feet. And then you had when she was stirring up the ocean and calling
Mhm.
for the ocean life to come to her. I could see stress on her face. It was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard for her to do that. Little did she know that she was calling actually quite a big beastie, but that's neither here nor there. So there was that creature of the week trope, which it's fine, it's okay, it's there. I picked up on I've got a few lives left, as we spoke about earlier on. I thought that was a really, really nice touch, quite classy. But the thing that made me laugh the most, and I thought I frigging love this program, and I really, really love Omega, was where Asajj says to her, "You're an odd little one," and Omega says, "Thanks." And I thought that was
Yeah.
genius, absolutely genius. Whereas what would typically a child of her age would have taken insult from that by being called odd. But the fact that she revels in that and sees that as a compliment and says, "Thanks, I am, aren't I? I am a bit odd, and I love it." And being really confident in herself, I thought was
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. And that's the main point that I took away from that made me not love, but like this program. Sorry, this episode. And that's all I picked up, mate. It was no sooner had it started, it kind of ended quite quickly as well. I don't know what the running time was for it, but like I said, my only real disappointment, I felt as if I was a bit shortchanged with Asajj. I wanted more and more
I
and
don't
more and
think it's the
more.
last we're gonna see of her.
I hope not. I
I
hope not, because when we talked
I
about, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. When we talk about
No, when we talked about last week about what we'd like the future of animation to be, and and when we spoke to the Scruffy boys a couple of weeks back, you asked the question, "Do you think this is the end of the clone story?" And I think that maybe it is, and if it does mean that we can move on to other things as well, albeit with a little bit of connected tissue to keep it relevant, that would be so cool. And if we do get, I mean, like I said last week, I would love an animation about the underground. I'd love a smuggler, a smuggler's story. Han Solo is not the only smuggler in the galaxy. Having all that kind of stuff going on, or even wow, wouldn't it be amazing if the Lando story, which is now becoming a film, if that does take off and we know what timeline it's going to be. In other words, it's going to be after it could well be after Solo, but before A New Hope or Rogue One, if you like. That's exactly the right time for someone like Asajj to come in. I mean, how cool would it be for Asajj Ventress to be Lando's co-pilot?
I think that would
Think
be
about that. Think about that.
the personality clashes would be very interesting. Then again, at the same time, it's like I want Lando to stand on his own and not have the ability of somebody who's force sensitive to justify things, to diminish his character of like
Yeah, but a
Lando's
broken
lucky,
force
Landy's
sensitive would be hilarious. That would be hilarious.
so on that note, I felt that too with the sea beast. It reminded me a lot of like what they always said about Kylo's lightsaber. It's like he's got powerful, but it's wild. And it part of
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
so this all kind of connects. I'm like, where my theories on like they do cameos sometimes for dumb reasons. I think like the Fennec one. It's like we know we have a Fennec model and people like Fennec. Let's put Fennec in. But the Asajj one feels more deliberate in my whole like small brain strings on
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the cork board. Like they're bringing Asajj back because she's going to connect to Ahsoka. Like,
Yeah, very
and
cool.
she's died, she's come back, but her force is off. Like she's
Yeah.
going to be the connective tissue of like, are the witches actually force sensitive or is it witch magic? Where do those intersect? When you die and come back, you're not as strong. You have to like relearn it.
Oh, good point.
This is our introduction. It's like she has power, and because you have that moment like, and this is like the nuances of the animation where it's like she was doing the weird glowfish thing around the boat, and then you saw that moment where she had a moment of realization like, oh crap, like
Yeah.
I have the power, but it's not tuned, and then but she still knew. It's like, whoa, uh-oh, he's big boy's coming. Which on also on that note, did you notice his biocamouflage when he was up on the water and she was calming him down and his skin was all
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
changing? Like
luminescence. Yeah.
that
That was cool.
that was wild. That was super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
I love the
I don't
idea
think
of I love the idea of, and I know we've suggested it, but now after what you've said, I'm manifesting it now in my brain. I love the idea of the difficulty that we're seeing with Asajj and her ability, or should we say, her ability to engage with the Force is somewhat compromised. I love that being down to her going through a procedure of resurrection. That would be so sick, as opposed to shutting herself off from the Force, which we saw in Kenobi, because he had to mask himself away from obviously the Inquisitors and the agents of evil that were hunting him down. I love the idea that her story is not like Kenobi's, and actually she's weaker because she's been
you're
dead.
never quite the same. You're never quite full.
She's been dead.
And I'm because I could easily see that being a piece
like
of the Thrawn Ahsoka, Ahsoka stuff, because it's like, oh, we're gonna bring back this army, but they're not really. They're flawed.
It's a bit like in the EU when they talked about Jango Fett being the clone or the clone template and everything. And I could be wrong, but I think it was addressed in Republic Commando, the novel version of the game, the novel spin-off series of the game, which became Imperial Commando, where they go into an awful lot of Jango Fett's backstory, and in fact associate the clones with the Mandalorians a lot heavier than they actually have done in animation or in live action. So the clone story is pretty much aligned with Mandalore. Anyway, point being is that I'm sure it was in those novels where they actually they have to get, every now and again, they have to get a new sample of DNA or a new sample of material from the host, because over time the sample deteriorates, that they pull the template from. And I'm not suggesting that she's a clone of her former self, but it's a similar theory that the more that you resurrect yourself, the more that you become less of your former self over time, and become a more, not contaminated, but a less pure version of your.
We could say that about all of it. You could say that about all the clones and the Snoke and the Palpatine. The more you mess with the natural, the more you deteriorate and lose touch with and you're never going to get that purity. You're never going to get that like a
Do you know what, mate?
Ray, like a
I-
she's just what it is.
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
can't.
yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. I have so enjoyed tonight because I wouldn't say I felt flat with the episode, but it was like I said at the beginning, it was fine. It was fine. It served a purpose. You know, we know that potentially one answer as to the reason why they're hunting Omega has potentially gone. Or it might not have done, but I felt fine about it until I spoke to you. So I'm really glad we spoke about it with such wild speculation because yeah, I'd love to see more of her. I really would, and that's really me just being petulant and selfish. I just felt disappointed there wasn't enough of her in it.
So you're saying that that's selfish because you want to see more of her when I led the conversation with, can she test me for midichlorians?
Yeah,
Seriously, I would love
yeah,
it if
yeah.
I have a note here says, is Asajj single? Like, I mean, if you die,
Okay, yeah, I wasn't going down that line, but yeah, okay, no worries. Yeah, yeah.
like if you die and get resurrected, I mean, where do those relationships stand? So, so I don't think you're
Oh, I
being
see what you
selfish at
mean.
all.
Oh, I see what you
Yeah.
mean.
So
Okay, okay.
and so my only other thought on the show was there was one part that I thought was very funny besides the Omega when they
Yeah.
were looking through the binoculars like overbearing parents. And then
Yes,
Asajj just
yes.
looks at him and Wrecker loses it. And he's like, how does she know we're watching? And it's like, loved it. Master class is perfect. I was
Yeah,
like, so good.
yeah, yeah.
But no,
No,
I
it was
really,
there were some nice things in there. Some nice little space starship porn as well. For you, I thought that Asajj's vessel looked interesting. Under the shadow of the cave, it was. I thought it looked like a little bit like a B-52
yeah,
kind of cockpit to it, or a flying fortress. Sorry,
yeah.
a cockpit to it. So I was expecting something like the Ghost, if I'm perfectly honest with you, to pull out. But that kind of asymmetric um, design, I thought
It's
was
like
good.
somebody put a B-17 cockpit on a wing and they said,
Yeah,
nailed it. We're
B-17.
good.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, exactly. Which again was a nice clawback to the old, or callback, sorry, to the original Clone Wars. You know, that do you remember that ship that Anakin, that freighter that Anakin reprimands uh in the original animated movie that they then bring back
Oh man.
during the. Do you remember that? I mean, it's
I've
horrible
slept a lot
looking.
since then. Yeah, I think I remember it vaguely. I'd have to look at a picture of it though
But
to
it
get the
was
whole.
as equally awkward as that ship, but nowhere near as good looking as I thought today was. Anyway, yeah, all good stuff, mate. We're what, episode 10 next week
Of the Bad Batch.
of the Bad Batch? Yeah,
I believe you are correct. Identity Crisis. So there are, including next week, 6 episodes left. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15.
excellent. Oh, they've got to do a lot in a short amount of time now. They really do.
Any shortish predictions for next week? What do you think we got going on? Because there's got to be one more arc. There has to be.
Well,
Like a
they're
small
going to
arc.
have to get on it. They're going to have to get on it. I don't think it's next week. I think it's the week after that we've got 2 in one go. We've got 2 in one. Sorry, we've got 2 episodes in one.
It's next week. Next week is a double.
It's next
Next
week,
week's
is
a double.
it? Okay, so
Yep.
they're going to have to crack on. So they're going to have to find out. Asajj came to a dead end, so they're going to have to find out what else they're doing. Unless they just say, "Screw it, we've got a target on our back. Let's just go and rescue our brothers, and not worry about, we'll work out the small stuff later." But to your point last week, I think they're going to leave that right to the last 4 episodes. So what do I think is going to happen? You know who could tell them? Nala say.
How's she going to get out? Are they going to go
So what I'm proposing is that if this is going to be, if they don't make it back to Tantis until the last 4 episodes, and we've got 2 episodes before those 4 episodes, it could well just be a case of them plotting the way in.
So here's my you ready for my curveball? Here, this is new. This is a new theory.
Go on.
I have ejected all of my tech coming back theories. Those are all gone. Those are all
Right.
I believe, which I'm happy about. I want him to stay a sacrifice. I've always wanted that. Because next week's episode is Identity Crisis and then Point of No Return. So when I ask myself who is going to have the identity crisis, and to such a focus on Omega, I wonder. This is my harebrained ass theory this week. Is Omega actually a clone? Or like, what are they going to call into? Are we going to have realizations that maybe there's more to Omega than just being like a Boba Fett, an untampered with clone, but under the guise of like, oh, she's another clone. She's here helping Nala Se, but really she's more of something different. And then we're going to lead, which I feel like is maybe going to lead into more of a found family instead of a genetic family because of all this experience. That's my current harebrained theory. Like the identity crisis is going to be more with Omega and her, because we've never really touched on it. It's like, oh yeah, she's like Boba Fett's brother or sister, and she's another young one. It's like, well, why? Why is there a connection with her and Nala Se? Why is Nala Se like Nala Se knows more? What? Like, because it has to be answered here. Like this show, it's all got to get buttoned up. So why is there another young one? Why does she have a high midichlorian count? What is going on with her? What makes her so special?
But also, what's the difference between her and her genetic sister?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, because that's another curve. I always forget about her.
I'm assuming accelerated aging. You know, her sister is basically the same mold as the as a standard clone, albeit in the female form. So one clone,
or are they a different type of clone that Nala Se was originally working on for the Empire until she realized what they were going to be used for? Like, is there a billion Omega and I think her name's Emery, Omega and Emery clones?
Yeah,
that have actually, that their sole purpose was to try to find like they were the original project. That then they kept Omega to the side when Nala Se realized it. And now it's just the same project that we've seen over and over again under a different group of people. And Nala Se is like, she figured it out, but she doesn't want anybody to know about it. Like maybe when Omega was born, like, and I just picturing like vats of these Emery and Omegas, or just, I don't know how you could show it and not be super morbid. Like, we tried a lot, and there's a lot of them that are gone, and maybe that pushes Emery over the edge of like, whoa, that's a big pile of Omegas. I don't know. I'm getting kind of dark with it, but I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know, man. I've no idea. Again, if the vats of many Omega are there, what makes her different to those clones in those vats? Because in theory, they wouldn't need Omega. They could take from the. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'll be spending a week thinking about this and what's going on. But yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I just want more Ventress if I can get it.
Me too. I do too. I really want that.
Mate, don't. You're scaring me now. Right. I think we should say good evening. It's been we're approaching 2 hours. So I think we should call it a day. Dude, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it, dude. It's been a lot of fun. And you really did pick me up on that episode. I'm seeing it in a very different light, which is great. Thank you.
No problem, man. I'm always excited to chat about these and pick them apart more than what we originally saw. Like that's what I love about this content. So
Awesome.
same as well.
Have a good week, my brother. Take it easy.
You as well. Thank you everybody for listening, and until next time.
Peace and love.
Bye.